Ladies and gentlemen, I am Yusril, the game is World of Warships, and welcome to another round in the Kamikaze R. This is one of those occasions where a decent game could have been even better if I hadn't made one tiny little mistake at the end. We're on Two Brothers, it's a 5-7 match, so yes, I'm at the bottom of the matchmaking, but overall it's pretty favourable. The only ships that can cause me serious hassle here are the Minikaze and the Meihan. The Hatsuharu's guns could be an issue if I get careless, and ditto the Nicholas, but really, Minikaze's got the speed to keep me honest, and Meihan, well, Meihan is Meihan. Other than that, there are 8 targets on the enemy team, and we've also got 4 destroyers, a couple of light cruisers, which will prove fairly handy to deal with the enemy destroyers, and a Texas. Almost a shame there's not an aircraft carrier in the match, but hey, I'm not complaining. Aircraft are a pain if you're in a Japanese destroyer, to put it mildly. So, we are slightly in the lead at this point. We've just grabbed C, courtesy of the Donegot and Degradable. Brit Crispy didn't quite get into the cap circle, and neither, I believe, did the Omaha. So, they got cheated out of their points. Still, only 3 of them would have got credit. Most of our team turns for A. And meanwhile, I'm making a fast grab for D, just so we've got at least a 2-1 advantage, if not a 3-1. And we're going to need it, because the enemy's got a destroyer into A. Anything else we'd have probably picked up by now. One of our own destroyers is just clearing the first headland. So, start the cap on D. We pick up 1 enemy battleship. Where's everybody else? Not a good position, not knowing where the enemy is. Pick up 1 of the enemy cruisers, Alba under Bloodcray. Also, finally get visual on Max Killer 2014 and his Fuso. Our destroyers have locked the cap on A, so that's temporarily our advantage, and I'm still running into D. Now, I'm kind of eyeing up torpedo shots here on this Königsberg. It's marginal to say the least. You can see that the range circle is just indicating that if the Königsberg kept sailing straight, I could maybe squeak a hit. Decide against it, finish the cap on D, and keep moving. I also turn away from the enemy line at this point. I'm still not sure that there isn't a picket destroyer between me and the enemy, so I don't want to get that close. Complete waste of ammunition there. Don't ask me why I've fired those. I think I was hoping that Königsberg would turn starboard and try to get a recap on D, but wasn't to be. Speculative in the extreme, those. So, that's the position. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 targets, possibly an enemy destroyer lurking that I don't know about. So let's go to work, and first order of business is the Alba under Bloodcray. So, here's one of the dirty, nasty tricks that destroyers can pull if you're a cruiser and operating in tight terrain. All stop. Torpedoes to reload. And now we wait. Bloodcray is sailing southeast. He is going to anticipate being masked here by this island, and when he comes around the corner, he should have some decent hits to work with. Dodonogot has taken out Gnarly 71. They're actually down 2 destroyers already, and we know where the other 2 are. Unfortunately, then we lose Friedhelm, so they're up 1 cruiser on us. Could be worse. The Alba is sailing along fat, dumb, and happy. He's being spotted. This is how I have his position, even though there's a dirty great lump of rock in the way. Caesorius and the spotting aircraft are both still providing me with targeting information. So, just wait for the target bearing to tick down a bit. You can see I'm keeping the torpedoes. There we go. Launch 1, launch 2, launch 3, so they clear the headland. Slam on the engine full power, because the Alba is going to get visual on me just for a second as he comes around this headland. What he's also going to get visual on are 6 torpedoes. And by that point, it's going to be entirely too late to do anything about them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 impacts from 6 shots. That would have nuked a battleship, never mind a cruiser. Cruiser drivers, pro tip, do not sail that close to a headland if you suspect that there are enemy torpedo launchers around, because things like that tend to happen. Unfortunately, we've lost the Farragut, which is a bit of a pain because I'm now the only destroyer left, and I'm shortly to be the only ship left because Narfis is about to take a serious beating. He has got a Nagato, a Kongo, a Fuso, a York, a Hatsuharu, and a Königsberg all locked onto him. This was inevitable, it really was. There was nothing else he could have done to survive. Little surprised he didn't start shooting at the Hatsuharu because, hey, Königsberg's got 150mm guns. He could have done some serious damage, but wasn't to be. I put a torpedo into Nagato. That was just more nuisance value than anything because my main focus now is this Hatsuharu that's actually detecting me. 3 rounds into him just to, well, give him some wake-up call and then turn away and pop smoke. Yeah, smoke. Despite the fact that I'm still running at full speed. Bear in mind that I've got the island blocking the line of sight from the battleships, and because I'm running directly away from Hatsuharu, the smoke is still between him and me. So I can open up the range, get out to safety, and the smoke's done its job. Then it's a turn, because it's a safe bet from the way he's just manoeuvred that he has launched torpedoes. He's turned side onto the smoke. Now, his option at this point is to hold the cap for a bit. He still sees rounds coming through the smoke. He still thinks I'm there. There's the shotgun launch from the Hatsuharu. If I'd stopped in the smoke, that would have caused me some serious trouble. Except now it's not going to cause me some trouble. He's turned back to starboard. He's going to be trying to complete the cap on D and then come round this island. So, let's shotgun some torpedoes. We've actually got a TDC bearing. I don't expect those to hit anything, but hey, you never know, we might get lucky. York's still at 11 kilometers. We've lost visual. The smoke's working for them as much as it is for me, but we pick up Kongu again. So, just make sure we're not going to hit this headland and then return our attention to the targets now that their destroyer escort's temporarily out of position. Cut speed. Let's let Kongu wind the range down a little. Okay. Still waiting to see what Kongo does. Half an eye on Nagato. I'm actually locked onto Kongo at this point, despite what the TDC bearing is saying. There's something about replay. Sometimes it locks up the wrong target. However, Kongo has just gone into a turn, so that's not going to help. Scrap that plan. Come over onto the opposite tack. See if I can get a launch at Nagato instead, who might just be turning enough. Anticipate the turn, lead the TDC bearing a bit, 6 out, and then run and switch back again, because in a second I'm going to pick up the York, and if that Hatsuharu's held his course, where's he got to? Where is that destroyer? He's had enough time to clear the island. The torpedoes didn't help anything, but they didn't hit anything either. There he is, bow on, 6 kilometers, turn, turn, turn. I do not want to get caught. Getting spotted at this moment would be bad. He's going to do it, however. 5.5, 5.4. Concealment expert ain't helping me anymore. However, there's only 100 meters in it, so slam on the engine boost. Come up to 35, 36, 37 knots. Enemy guns will be training. There we go. First rounds from Hatsuharu. Direct hit. Kongu puts in main battery fire. York has a go as well. Luckily, everything was fixable. But even so, it's still not a great situation. Luckily, I was able to get out of range of Hatsuharu. I'm invisible again. And we've got torpedoes running to Kongu, who is sailing fat, dumb and happy until our buddies decide to start shooting her. So she starts turning, which of course means that the rudder is over. So when my torpedoes come into acquisition range, she just carries on turning. And yet, you've guessed it, 3 of these torpedoes are going to miss forwards. 1, 2, 3, however, still hit. So that's a pretty decent result, all things considered. 9 seconds on the reload. This is where I make a mistake. It's not the fatal mistake, but it's still a mistake. Kongu's just come out of a turn. She's not at full speed. So what do? I fire on the TDC bearing. Of course, she's steady on her course. She's at full power. She's accelerating back up to 30 knots. You can see the TDC bearing just start to creep forwards again as she builds speed. So, yeah, of course, most of these torpedoes are gonna miss. Luckily for me, however, not all of them are gonna miss. Watch this left-hand torpedo on the trailing side. Kongu's wiggled a bit for evasive, so that's trimmed her speed back down. She sees the torpedoes coming in, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 miss stern. Last one just clips. Only does 7,000 damage, but she blew her damage control earlier to stop the flooding, which means that she's got nothing now, and the flooding does for her. Feels slightly like I cheated Maximus on fire out of his kill there. Hatsuharu has put some long-range torpedoes down. She would have launched those a good 90 seconds ago. Sam 27 was a bit unlucky to take that hit, but it's still torpedo to torpedo. Unfortunately, he's now broadside to a Nagato, and this is where the fire comes in. Yes, that was stunningly bad luck that meant that Nagato hit me. Defensive shotgun torpedoes into the Hatsuharu. Don't really expect those to hit anything, but hey, you never know. Nothing else, it'll discourage him and persuade him to back off a bit. So, locked on to target Nagato. We've got a couple of torpedoes starboard, nothing serious there. Sam will hopefully dodge. No, he won't, and that flooding's likely gonna finish him off. Meanwhile, wait a minute, that Hatsuharu hasn't turned. 3 impacts into a destroyer. Destroyer captains, please take note. Just because you're small and maneuverable, you actually have to turn to take advantage of that maneuverability. Just saying. Anyhow, the enemy are down to 1 destroyer. There are 2 cruisers and 2 battleships left. I can see the 2 battleships. They're nice, juicy targets, but, well, Thunderchild's heading away, so he's comfortably out of range, and Fuso haven't quite got the angle just yet. One of the cruisers is over to the western side. We can see him, so where's that last cruiser got to? Speculative torpedoes out into where I hope the Fuso's gonna be when he clears that island, but he's turned away as well, so those torpedoes are gonna be clean misses. Where's that last cruiser? We even know where the enemy destroyer is, for heaven's sake. So where is... Oh. This is not good. Luckily, Rogue Destroyer's first salvo is aimed at the Nagato of Maximus on fire. So he's reloading. His secondaries are coming to play. Bow to the enemy. Full speed. Okay, 5 seconds on the engine boost. Just keep the bow towards him until I have a torpedo shot. As best I can. Give him... There we go. Right, so turn. Launch 1. Launch 2. Launch 3. Have his main batteries come round. Doesn't matter. Torpedoes in the water. And thank RNGesus for that, because if that damage roll had been a bit higher, the guns would have finished me off. Still, torpedoes did their job quite nicely, and we're now grabbing D back, which is pretty much going to wrap the match up. In fact, we're capping the other 2 control points as well. Not anymore, because someone sailed out of A. Doesn't really matter at this point, and yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about myself at this point. Just over 6 minutes on the clock, 4 kills down, 2 targets ahead of me, and 922 points. I'm smelling a sneaky little kraken. So let's turn round and see if we can't get the range. I'm in a bad position, however, because I'm behind the enemy, which means that they're heading away from me, and I'm going to have to run the range right down to get a torpedo shot that's got any chance of success. So plug in the engine boost. Let's run right the way up to 40 plus knots. Rain these 2 targets in and see what we can get. 7 kilometers on the Fuso. Bear in mind, however, that Fuso is still heading away. So a launch at this range would be a guaranteed miss. Keep winding the range in. Then I make the fatal mistake. Nagato is turning towards me, so I pick her as a more desirable target and focus on her. I'm not paying any attention to Max Killer at this point. Watch the range on Max Killer. 5.8, 5.7, 5.6, 5.5. I lock onto Nagato, aim for the shots, and oh, wait, I'm detected. Fuso, hi. Nagato's main battery, hi. Davy Jones's locker. Hi. Yeah, that's embarrassing. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you screw up a Kraken in one easy mistake. Still, I get 2 hits into Nagato as compensation, but it's not enough to sink her. Not nearly enough to sink her. It would have had to bag all 6, really, to have done that. So with that panic widespread, not a hope. Still, it's a solid victory all the same. We've pretty much locked it down, but it could have been so much nicer. Not that I should be complaining too loudly. 500,000 credits and 6,000 XP is pretty decent when you're trying to train up a captain on his 16th, 17th point. And, well, that's 2 games worth of curry and torpedoes for Shimikaze, plus 500 XP for finishing up the surprise attack mission. That needed 15 torpedo hits and, well, I got 15 in the battle, so even with what I had from earlier games, jobs are good on anyway. Damage numbers are, again, satisfactory. 130,000 from the torpedoes, small change from those salvos into Hatsuharu with the guns, but again, I can't help thinking that if I hadn't messed up that last approach on Fuso and Nagato, there could have easily been another 30, 40, even 50,000 damage into those torpedoes. I fired 66. I mean, thank goodness we don't have ammunition limits to worry about in this game, or that simply wouldn't have been possible, and destroyers would have been suicide machines, which, historically, if you were in a Japanese destroyer that wasn't named Yukikaze, is pretty much what they actually were. Last but not least, we have the overall scoreboard, 3,091 base XP. Yes, that's a good game, it's an extremely good game, but I can't help but think that it could have been that little bit higher, that little bit better. Shout out, by the way, to Silver Leviathan, 1,600 XP on a losing team in domination. I suspect most of that is from capturing 1, maybe 2 control points. I'd have to go back and look to see if he actually did manage to bag A at any point, but the man carried hard. Has to be admitted straight up here. He would have been a very nasty opponent to face. Luckily, he went for A, I went for D, and the rest is history. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been Yuzril. That has been one little mistake in a kamikaze, and until next time, farewell.